Welcome to the Dynamics Hotdish, the podcast where Ashley Steiner, Allie Nelson, and Liz McLennan dish up the latest news and insights about Dynamics and the Power Platform. Join us to explore business applications and low-code development with tips, tricks, and real-world experiences. So grab a seat at the table and let's dig in.
So thanks everyone for coming back for another week of the Dynamics Hotdish. I'm so excited this week. We have a special guest to talk to us about Microsoft Power Platform Conference and some other really exciting things that you do within your role. So thank you, Heather. This is Heather Cook. She's joining us. She's the principal manager with Microsoft. And we're so excited to have you today, Heather. So tell us a little bit about you and your role.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the Hot Dish. I'm so excited. I was like, yay. I'm from the Midwest originally, maybe home of many hot dishes. So I was like, okay, I cannot wait. So yeah. So thanks for having me on. Yes, I've been to many a potluck and many a function on the weekend with hot dishes for sure. So yeah. So thanks for having me on. Yeah. I'm super excited about the Power Platform Conference as well. So it's big plans for Las Vegas, October 3rd through 5th coming up soon. So, and I was actually just there this week for a little site visit to do a walkthrough and kind of check out the space at the MGM Grand. So that was awesome to do that again and get it in my brain and my team for plotting and planning, as it were. So yeah.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about what you do with Microsoft. What does your role look like? And then also, what is your role specifically with the Power Platform Conference?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, as you said, I'm a principal manager, and that's I am in the business and applications platform executive office on the engineering team. I'm part of our community events and evangelism area of the business, and so I've been part of community success since I started. I came back to Microsoft in June of 2020. As a full-time employee. I've been a vendor, a partner, a customer. I was an FTE full-time employee back, 18 years ago. So, but since I came back, I've been in the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 space, helping build community programs and support our advocates and work on our platforms and all kinds of good stuff. So basically evangelizing what's going on with our community, helping build more relationships, listening. It's a big part of it. How can we help? What do you need? What do you want? All that kind of thing from Microsoft. And I was a Microsoft MVP for a long time on the Microsoft 365 side and a speaker running around the world. So I kind of have a lot of different, perspectives because of that. And I was also a theater major back in the day. So yeah, so that too. So that's my role. Yeah, it's awesome.
So our next question is around the Power Platform Conference specifically. So if someone is thinking about attending, can you share why they should attend and then what makes this conference unique?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And my role for the Power Platform Conference that you'd asked me about as well. I'm one of the producers, so I'm an executive producer for the event, and that's part of my charter as being on the community success team. So basically, what that means is that I lead and oversee kind of the whole thing. Like, what does the whole thing look like? What's the look, the feel, and all of that for Microsoft? Microsoft, are a sponsor. We're the lead sponsor for the event. So this is a third-party community technical skilling show, like so many that are out there that are put on by all of our awesome producers out in the world. So with this one, we have a big presence because we are the lead sponsor. And so there's a lot of moving parts to that. So I get to kind of keep my eye on the prize on all of those things, from what Microsoft content we put in. We've got a keynote team who's working with Charles Lamanna, who's our corporate vice president for business applications and platforms. We've got, the partners that are coming. There's customers that are coming. We've got, Microsoft MVPs that are coming. So we keep an eyeball on all of those things. We work really closely with the event producers and organizers because they really, it's their show. They, do all of the community sessions and, the entertainment and the food and beverage and all that kind of jazz, right? The venue and all of that. So my job is really ensuring, and I've done this actually for a long time with Microsoft, is just ensuring what our presence is and what it looks like at the event. So I'm in charge of all that. And there's a bunch of work streams, all of and how we're helping amplify the message through marketing and demand generation and all of that stuff. So it's just, what are we doing as Microsoft to attend this event as a divisional unit, if you will? So that's where I'm at. And gosh, Power Platform Conference, this is the second one. We had it last year in Florida. We ended up having 4,000 people. It was sold out, which was, thinking about last year, where we were in the world and life and pandemic and everything else, everybody was still a little like, I think, and with masks and different things and all of that. And so, but, I think the community is so strong and so wonderful, and we all want to be together as human beings, right? We want to gather, we want to connect, we want to celebrate and do all that good stuff, right? So I think that was a testament to, that feeling that we have in our hearts. And so this year coming around, the show moved from that venue in Florida to Las Vegas. It's a little bit bigger venue, and so we're, hoping that we've got, room. We're not hoping, we have room for more folks, to come to the event. So excited to see how that works out. And so there's tons of sessions, there's tons of keynotes, there's going to be focus groups and, roundtables and meetings and, some fun stuff. We're working on some philanthropic moments with the community, with the event organizers, for people to get together and do some just cool social stuff too. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited.
It sounds exciting. And that's a great turnout for your first event last year. So I wanted to ask if you are expecting more people this year, and it sounds like you are with the change of venue.
Yeah. I think, we're tracking well for that. So yeah, it's exciting. And, and I think, I was talking to some other folks. I think, I look at things very big picture. That's kind of my brain. And so, it's thinking about, it's like the other thing right now is like everybody's on vacation. I mean, I think everybody, like it's the summer of, we were just in this thing. And this summer I am taking some time and I'm getting away and I'm doing the things that I didn't do. I really feel that in the world. I feel it with my friends, my family, and everybody else. And so I think there's like a bit of like that happening right now too. So I think it's, it'll be cool that, where we put this event, we moved it out a couple of weeks. So it's the first week of October. Definitely after kids go back to college and kids go back to school and sort of people are maybe done with their summer vacations and all of that. Right. So it'll be a great time to gather together, kind of at that moment of like, oh, and we're back, kind of thing, so it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we talked to Asif actually a couple of months ago about the community content, right? So the MVPs that are going to be standing up and speaking and bringing their expertise. So I'd love to hear from you about how did Microsoft plan their content? Because obviously as a lead sponsor, they're probably going to have a lot of sessions, the keynote, things like that. So what was their intention with the content this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the major themes for us, shocking, is AI and Copilot, so I know, I'm like, what?
Of course.
Yeah, right. So I think, definitely with that in mind, it's sort of the evolution of that will be touched on for sure, from like where have we come from and where are we going, definitely in the keynotes. I think for the keynotes we have a couple of people along with Charles Thomas Donkey from GitHub. He's the CEO of GitHub, so bringing in that developer, that pro dev, but also all the dev perspective will be really awesome. And then we've got Sumit Chaudhran from the Office Group. She's a corporate vice president over there. And, with all of that, just the better together story of all of the different apps from Power Platform, surfacing in Teams, and then all the Copilot, that's going to be coming out across Microsoft 365 and all of Power Platform. And so just all of those, how those things work together. She's going to touch on that. We also have Arun Ulagarachakan, who is the corporate vice president for Azure Data, and the Microsoft Fabric and Power BI, right? So we've got him coming in as well. And so telling that whole story is going to be awesome. So, from a high level, really touching on how AI and Copilot are going to, be a part of our future in the low code story. So that was that piece. And then we drop into the product teams themselves, right? So they're going to be giving sessions on specific areas of their products, and those are the folks that are building them, right? So not only will they be given sessions, but they'll be listening. They're going to be doing some focus groups and roundtables and that sort of thing, and those their opportunity to ask questions during the session, right? So getting product teams, I think, out into the world, into having those conversations and listening to folks, I think is really powerful. I mean, it gets everybody that technical skilling that you expect at these events that are out in the world too, right? So a lot of the times you're looking for sort of that, maybe that deeper dive into things, and with a bunch of other people, and the ability to ask questions. So there's a power effects session, there's a power platform architecture section, there's there's like admin and governance that we touch upon. There's all kinds of cloud flows and desktop flows for Power Automate, and how to build those wonderful websites and Power Pages. All the generative AI that's coming through Power Virtual Agents on building bots. So you've got this smattering of all of those things, and the Power BI team has got all kinds of sessions too, touching on what this thing Fabric means with all of the different products together, and all of the work that they've done on their in a day, building a dashboard in a day. There's workshops as well. So that's the other thing. There's these full day workshops that folks can go to on all these subjects as well. So super excited. We've got probably close to 100 sessions and a couple hundred speakers coming for proctoring and different speaking opportunities and all the roundtables and all that good stuff. So yeah, a huge amount of content in one fell swoop at this event.
So I know you can't tell us like what it would be, but are there any like big announcements coming, like sneak peeks of like, hey?
I had the same question, Ashley. I'm glad you asked that.
I know you can't tell us what it is, but is that going to be expected?
Well, here's the thing. So most of the time, if you all follow Microsoft, so you know this. So like twice a year for business applications for Power Platform and Dynamics 365, we do two big release waves, right? There's one in April and one in October. And so those are, usually there's the business applications launch event, right? That's around those, right? So those usually happen at that time as well. So anyway, I think, most of the time those big announcements come there, or they come at the big first party events like Microsoft Ignite and Build and that sort of thing. However, if you pay attention to Charles and some of the other folks, there usually tends to be something that's shared, so I know what it is. I don't, because they haven't shared that with me, but I think, yeah, I don't know that, if I grab my magic 8-ball over here and go, will there be something dropped? It's probably going to say absolutely yes, but I don't know what that is. So yeah, but I think about, just more probably advancements in what's happening with the co-pilots and AI, I would think, right? And anything that was announced at Build, maybe those things going into general availability, that sort of thing. That's what I would keep an eye out for. And all of that stuff will be detailed most likely in our blogs, on the Power Platform blog out on the websites. So yeah. So I can't tell you. Ha! Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll be there.
And I don't know, So
yeah. I'll be there, so I'll be finding out when you do
you can be like, I'm gonna be on Twitter first, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Awesome.
It sounds like lots of good stuff, though, and just like a great opportunity to hear from and interact with the Microsoft team. Like, I do feel like it's rare that you have that many Microsoft product team members and leadership in one spot. So, like, what a great opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's great. I'm really, I care a lot about our, community events and our community in general. It's where my heart lives, and it's really awesome to see just the coming together of everybody, from the product teams to our sales teams to partners, who are supporting the event. Thank you, who are supporting the event itself. Was super awesome. So yeah, and it's great, being a sponsor and, really, supporting technical skilling out in the world. And, there's a lot of great events that are happening at any given time. We've done a lot of work with the event organizers. There's the 365 EduCon, Power EduCon show that's happening next week. I'll be there in Seattle. That's a great producing team who puts that show on, and there's a bunch of us from the product team going to that. It's a little bit of a smaller show as far as numbers and all of that. But then there's all kinds of things going on. You all know, any given time of year, you go speak and attend. We've got our Dynamics Con Live folks. We've got the some of the other European events that happen. We had European Power Platform Conference, European SharePoint Conference, and then all the small events which are free. That anybody's putting on at any given weekend. Through communitydays.org, which is a place where we've been working on pushing folks to list their events, because you can list there for free. And so the old SharePoint Saturdays, sites, and Dynamics 365 Saturdays, that site, went away and then was rebuilt by an MVP named Thomas Daly. And he built the site, and we said, hey, can we support this infrastructure? And he was like, awesome. And so that site is actually on Microsoft infrastructure, but run and built by MVPs and community members, right? So those kinds of projects and sort of things out in the world are things that I look for, that I'm like, okay, how can we support something that's happening with X, Y, or Z? And so that's become a really popular place for people to look for these community events, both like the community produced, like a Power Platform Conference, or a community led, like a Community Days Mexico City that's coming up, kind of thing. So that's a really cool thing that I do a lot of support across with Caruana Gatimu on the Microsoft 365 team, who runs the community stuff and more over on that side of the house. So that's a really great partnership. And with Azure folks too. That's the cool thing about being in this role you were asking about earlier, is that one, because I've been in around Microsoft since 2001, literally, which is bananas. I think about it, I'm like, I use good moisturizer, I hope. But anyway, but the ability to just I'll date myself, the Rolodex that I have of knowing people, and then getting to know all of the people like you all in Dynamics 365 and Power Platform world that I might not have known, has been really exciting. And it allows for us as community leads at Microsoft to talk to each other and talk about best practices and talk about tools and talk about how we get these sort of siloed experiences to be not so siloed, maybe, from our platforms and our offerings and all of that stuff. So I am all about Power Platform and Dynamics 365, but I'm also about how this larger Microsoft ecosystem works together and does it in a better way and makes things easier for our community members and our customers out in the world, which to me, the same, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, you've shared a lot of really useful stuff. So this next question might be a bit repetitive, so apologies for that. But what are you most excited about for the Power Platform Conference? Or I'll broaden it and just say in general. So what are you most excited about?
Yeah. Let's see. I think with the Power Platform Conference, I just love being with people and being, connected and in person. And I don't know who said it, and I won't be able to give good credit for it, but it's the in between. It might have been Scott Hanselman, who's .NET amazing. Everybody knows who Scott Hanselman is, but it's about, to me, and if this was him that said it, I agree with. It's the in between. It's the moments that happen in between the sessions. You kind of know what you're getting in the sessions. You're getting educated, you're learning stuff and all of that, but it's the moments where you come upon somebody that maybe you haven't met, or somebody you haven't seen in forever, or just the conversation that you happen to be next to or whatever, that literally can change your life. Because I've had it happen. I have those moments that I can point to in my 20 years of being in this Microsoft ecosystem, of where at an event, somebody said something and I got a job or a project, or I was able to help somebody, or, I gave a speech that somebody came back to me and be like, hey, you gave this thing back in here, and I want to tell you how that changed my life. And that's huge, right? It's like the small moments in our lives that I think sometimes we don't always pay attention to, or connect back to this monumental thing that happened to us. And so that's what I love the most is, and I don't always get to hear all of those things. And being a theater person, there's a little bit of I do kind of like the applause at the end of a play. You know what I mean? There's something nice to that, to know that you've done a good job, right? But you don't always get that when you do certain things in the world, right? We don't always know how we affect other people. And so when I do get to hear those things, if somebody tells me or whatever, that's That's great. And it's not being all about me. That's for all of us. Like, it's everybody has a moment to be a leader, to shine, to connect, to change somebody's life, right? And to me, that's the cool thing about these in-person events that I've been a producer for forever. So I love creating experiences for people. So to me, that's the exciting thing about the Power Platform Conference, and what I get to do as part of my charter day to day. I did that for a long time with SharePoint. I was a vendor at the time, but I was, the producer for many SharePoint conferences. The original SharePoint conference, presence by SharePoint at something, and so I'm kind of in that role again as a FTE 20 years later, doing it with the Power Platform team and Dynamics 365 team. It's awesome. So, yeah.
So speaking of like those little moments and kind of getting to see people in person, I know you're
Mhm.
involved with the Microsoft user groups as well,
Yeah.
which are basically these conferences, but local and
Yep.
free. You had
Yep.
mentioned like free events. So talk to us more about your involvement in the user groups and what are the Microsoft user groups for those people
Sure.
that might not know.
Yeah, absolutely. User groups are awesome. That really, for many people, they're the local entry point to when we say community. And the word community has changed over a while. I think, especially during the last few years when we went from physical to digital, there was a light really shined on the platforms that we were using. Are they easy to use? Can I get to them? Are they connected? Like all of that stuff. And so I think there's been a lot of really great innovation around that because that light was shined. And plus we wanted to connect to each other because we couldn't get to each other. So we're like, how do we do that? Right. So with the user groups, there's all kinds of history about user groups and how they started, and how they continue. A lot of times they're very organic. A bunch of people get together and they're like, "Hey, we want to talk about blah blah blah," and they're like, "Cool, yeah, let's start meeting once a month and eat pizza and talk about things." And so a lot of user groups, that's the way they started. Sometimes they have been, I think, more supported, I might say is the word, by different entities. So there's, like, again, just like we have third party event producers, there's third party user group organizations that support user groups, and a lot of user groups are on meetup.com. I mean, one of the biggest meetup companies in the world, where everybody is listed, right? And so there's and there's like Doug, who the Dynamics user group, who supports user groups, and there's other companies out there that do that as well. Microsoft decided for Power Platform and Dynamics 365 a couple of years ago to create a user group space on the community platform. And so that was launched a couple of years ago. It continues. My extended, I guess, larger, community success team in BAP, that is being managed out of a community platform team. And Eric Archer is the person, the FTE over there, who's in charge of user groups, and has been working on them for a long while now, with a couple other folks. And so is really leading that strategy moving forward of how, what's Microsoft, how are we supporting, what are we doing, all of those good things. The thing about user groups, though, all that being said, user groups are really, for the community by the community, and really kind of like with the events and other things, just like the example with Tom and the communitydays.org. I think Microsoft, we want to listen and we want to help support and provide spaces and infrastructure and things like that to support the goodness that is already happening. I mean, some user groups, as you know, in the dynamic space, they've been around for 15, 20 years, like, and
Right.
and also have some of those older names like GP and AX and whatnot, you know what I mean? And they're like, and we're still that, which is all, right on, you know what I mean? Like, those things are born out of people getting together, and just when you find your community, it's belonging. You feel like you belong to something greater than yourself. That's why we gather, right? And so user groups, to me, are just the perfect belonging sort of moment and place to get started. It's also usually local, a lot of times in person. You can go to it. The thing about the pandemic, I think, that was really interesting was that, so many things, but anyway, we figured out that, the inclusivity of a user group, being able to, if you wanted to pop into the one that's in Paris, you could do it because it was online. right? Or if you liked following a speaker that happened to be doing different things, you could do that as well, right? So I think, I would probably, maybe you should have Eric come on and talk about, user groups and strategy. But what I do know is that, we Microsoft, of course, want to support user groups and the community. It's continually listening and figuring out what is needed, what's important, and how to best support as things, are moving. It's interesting. Things are moving to in person. However, I think there's also this thing that we all enjoy not driving an hour, or we all
Yep.
also enjoy not, like, if it's in the middle of the day, like, who can take 6 hours off to go to a user group? It's a hard decision. It's a hard justification. I think now that we've sort of gotten into this from home and online thing, so I think there's, to me, there's some question marks about, like, some have really continued super strong, still doing it once a month and all of that, and others have kind of not. I mean, that's just fact, that I've seen. So it's a little bit of, like, it's a little a sticky wicket a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see moving forward, how it all happens and how people adapt to the different, just things that they're used to and how they want to live their lives, But I don't think you'll ever see things not happening, because I also feel like it's great for, like, first time speakers. If somebody wants to start, speaking, and you can give a 15-minute presentation, and I think that's also the power of community calls as well. That also, I think I've seen those grow during this time too. And we have a Power Platform community call, and it was this morning, actually. It's the third Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And that has just grown and grown and grown. I think there might have been 400 or 500 people on it, and
Wow.
that's pretty amazing. And so, David Warner has done such a nice job with that. He's hosting along with April Dunham on the Cloud Advocates team and Hugo Bernier. So that's just a testament that people do want to get together, and that features usually 3 demos from the community, and so that's a cool place to come and check things out, as well. And so I think, you've got a smattering of different things that you can do, right? We only have so much time in the day, in a week, or whatever. So I hope that, user groups continue to, grow and be gathering places. I believe we are going to have a user group session at Power Platform Conference. Eric had a great idea about pulling user group leaders potentially together, and also making sure that folks could join from outside the conference, because the Power Platform Conference, like many of these shows, they don't do hybrid. They don't, you have to be there to get the content, right? And so Power Platform is like that. Power Platform Conference, I think 365 EduCon, there's lots of them that don't record. So you have to be at the show. And, there's lots of opinions about that, always, I think, from a lot of people, but that's part of what these producers are doing. So anyway, I think, user groups are awesome. I used to run, and I probably will still start helping run again, the one here in Los Angeles. But I did that for a time as well. And I was one of the producers for the SharePoint Saturday Los Angeles that were here. And I used to speak at those. I mean, any given Saturday, there were 3 going on in the world, literally, for like close to 10 years. That's amazing. You think about it.
It is.
The event on a Saturday, people going. So let's say, even if it was just 200, and usually they were averaging probably about 300 or 400 people. So, you say 1,200 people in the world are gathering at any given time, on every Saturday times 52. Doing the math is fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, wow, that's a lot of people who are getting together to talk about SharePoint, right?
Especially on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, to give up their Saturday
it's
to
not
do it.
like part of their
Work
week.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's impressive. That's something I love about our industry and our community, is just the amount of available in-person or virtual free learning resources and the community that's there. Like, I really do believe it's something unique. And actually, I know you've been involved with user groups your whole career too. I know you led the one in Wisconsin, and you helped lead the one in Dallas. So is there anything you want to add about user groups?
Yeah.
Join one, right? If you don't have one in your local area, start one.
Yeah.
Or find one that's meeting virtually and
Yeah, or
join
find
remotely.
one.
Yeah.
It's a great way. I mean, I don't know what I still keep in touch. Every user group that I've lived in Phoenix, the Seattle area,
Okay.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and now Dallas, and I still stay in touch with people from every single one of those
Oh,
user
sure.
groups, and they've become part of my network and my community. So, it's a great place to just meet people. Also, speaking, that was my first speaking. Is
Yeah.
I got up and just told the story of how we started using CRM, and here I am now, 9 years later, an
Yeah.
MVP and speaking at a ton of conferences. So if it,
Awesome.
sometimes it finds you don't find it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think user groups are if for nothing else, to get to know other people in your area that are
Yeah.
doing similar things to you. um I was always an admin, and it can be a really lonely world.
Mhm.
And so being able to get out of the office, once in a
Yeah.
while, and meet other people that are doing what I'm doing and are also lonely because they're the only ones doing what
Yeah.
they're doing. It was
Right.
really nice to have that. So,
That's so
um,
awesome.
yeah, I know we're coming up on time, Liz. I don't
Sure.
know if Heather, is there anything else you want to share on Power Platform Conference or user
Ah,
groups before we get to our signature question?
I think I'm going to tag on to what you said. Just come join one and come register and, go to these events. I think it's a great investment and I think people get a lot out of it. And, people are sometimes like, well, it's a boondoggle. And you know, no, I don't believe that. I believe that, anything can be a boondoggle. Let's talk like for reals. But like, like the thing is though, is that like these events are put together to help people, to help people level up, to help people gain more knowledge, and if you're looking for a change in your career, if you're looking to make connections and looking to potentially become a speaker and all of that, all of those things are there, and I think again, it's that belonging piece of belonging to something greater than yourself, right? So I'd say, take a look at communitydays.org. You can see all the things that are happening, both in person, virtually, and hybrid. You can come to the user group areas on our community platform and you can check out any user group you can join. It's like there's no barrier to entry. It's very like, I want to join that one and I want to check out that event. It's literally a couple of clicks. You do have to join, I believe, to be a member of our actual community, but other than that, once you're in, then you're in the forums and you can answer questions and you can ask questions and post a blog and do all the good things, right? So yeah, I think just join, get involved, and you can be a lurker. That's fine. Like you can, it's true. Like, like lurkers are learners is what they say, a lot of times. And that's at least what I say about, and that's fine. It's your prerogative of how you participate, right? The opportunities are there for you to participate, come as you are, be yourself, and participate in how you want. And that's the cool thing about community and the communities at Microsoft that I see in. Ooh, hello. And I also, the land of the cheese curd, I just want to say, what up, Wisconsin? So I'm from Michigan originally. My family's from
Okay,
here and I was born there. So,
got it.
definitely Midwestern as well. And I lived in Texas for a smidge too. So,
I'm sorry to hear that. I would much prefer the Midwest.
yeah, well, I've lived in Seattle for a long time and then I kept going south. So I've been in California for a bit. So I'm in Los Angeles now. So, yeah. So
Nice.
it's good. Yeah. No, just thank you both for a great chat. And it's awesome to just have a minute, so it's great. Oh, hot dish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Liz,
we
do you
have
want
one
to
more
ask?
question.
Is that it?
Do you
Is
want
that
me to
it?
ask it, Ashley, or do
You.
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do.
Well, Heather, I'm assuming you know what a hot dish is based on your time in the Midwest. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay. So,
Yeah.
what's your favorite hot dish?
I had to think about this when we were talking about it before. And I will say it's something that I don't eat very often anymore, but it was something my family made, and we called it. It was our next door neighbor made it and brought it over every time to all of like the neighborhood, block parties that happened, and there were a lot of those, especially in the summertime. And we called it Linda Larkin's dip because her name was Linda Larkin, and still is. Anyway, and so it was like Hormel chili, no beans, and then a layer of Philadelphia cream cheese, and then a layer of Monterey Jack cheese, and then cut up green olives on the top, and you stick that in the microwave, and then you eat that with chips.
Huh.
That was ridiculous.
That's very unique.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I also, I loved a hamburger helper growing up too. So, for sure. I was from
That's
the land
awesome.
of hamburger helper, tuna helper, all the helpers, so that was
Yeah.
definitely something that was served for dinner with my family for sure. So, what are yours?
Anything you can top with cheese.
Yeah.
I'd say probably macaroni and cheese with like
Yeah.
panko breading on top.
Ooh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
yummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My growing up classic one, I don't think it's a real recipe, and the listeners have probably heard me say this, is chicken yummy. My grandma made it. It was chicken,
Yummy.
cheese, and croutons. Super healthy. Baked in the oven.
Oh my goodness. That's fantastic.
Yeah. There are probably other stuff in it too, but no vegetables.
Yeah. I would say butter, probably. But yeah. Wow. So
Some
funny.
cream of something, Campbell's.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Whatever cream of whatever soup's in the cupboard.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Heather, for being here. We're so excited. I'm excited to see you at Power Platform Conference.
Yes.
In just less than a couple months, right? It's 6 weeks away.
Yeah. We're down to
Coming
it.
up fast.
Yeah.
So
sure.
thank you again for joining us and sharing your expertise, and looking forward to the conference.
Yeah, thank you both so much for having me on, and yay Hotdish devotees. So yeah, big love.
Thanks for tuning in to Dynamics Hotdish, your go-to podcast for all things Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media for even more insights and updates on the latest trends and best practices in business applications and low-code development. We'll be back soon with another delicious serving of Dynamics and Power Platform goodness. Until then, keep innovating and building great solutions.